I've spent thousands of dollars on professional organizers. It just didn't work. Everything looked incredible. Clean lines, labeled bins, matching baskets, perfectly Instagram worthy. But here's the truth. It wasn't maintainable. I've bought every single shape and size of storage container, designer bins, baskets, labels, label holders, you name it. And yet, our closets would get overstuffed, the pantry was a disaster, and we could never find anything. The clutter was just endless. Why can't our house stay organized? Is it because our house has unusually small storage spaces for its size? Is it my ADHD and I can't put things back where they go? Is it my husband undoing all of my hard work? Why is literally every solution I'm trying failing? I realized the systems we were using everywhere, the systems I learned from YouTube, from professional organizers, they just weren't built for how we actually live. So I got obsessed. I watched countless more YouTube videos. I took notes from every mistake we made, and I started really observing our living habits. And slowly, I started piecing together my own systems that finally made a difference. Basically, what did the organizers do wrong? What did I do wrong? How is this not fitting our living habits? These aren't the tips that everyone talks about that end up being super basic and essentially organizing 101. These are trial by fire lessons, systems that I created to go beyond the basic advice and are actually effortlessly maintainable. These systems really do end up staying the way I created them. And let me say this, when my house is cluttered, my mind is cluttered. I get overwhelmed, I lose my patience, I shove things into drawers, pile them into closets, and pretend everything's just fine. My friends might think that I'm really put together, but on the inside, AKA when they open a closet, they're probably gonna instantly get anxiety or an injury from things falling out of the closet. Okay, let's talk about the organizing schedule. The one where you're supposed to make organizing a regular routine, blah, blah, blah. You just add it to your calendar and you once a week organize one area. No, I can't even fit enough Pilates or date nights into my schedule. I can't imagine an organizing schedule. Okay, this system, I created what I call a homeless bin. If we don't know where something goes, we put it in that. It's our lost in place zone. If I'm the one doing all the organizing, how can I expect my husband to improve the system without me seeing it as him undoing all the hard work I've done? He grocery shops more than I do. He cooks more than I do. Oftentimes after work, he goes to the gym, swings by the grocery store, comes home all sweaty with bags of groceries. It's late, we're both hungry, and the last thing he wants to do is play a puzzle game figuring out where to put all the groceries away. So for this reason, he can put anything in the homeless bin and I will never ever be upset. Anything you want. In fact, I'll be proud you're utilizing something I'm proud of, so this is great. But if I find peanut butter in the rice bin, I might lose it. This organizing I did is kind of just slowly getting reversed. So now, instead of the system getting wrecked, I just have to rehome a couple of random items in the homeless bin every few days, which takes me 3 seconds. There's no chaos, no resentment, no undoing my hard work. Game changer. Also, the homeless bin is great because it helps me see what I forgot to create a spot for when I originally organized. This was a big problem with our professional organizers. They only organized what we had on hand at that very moment. They did create a few backstock bins, but before you know it, basically everything overflow was in the backstock bins, even though it wasn't technically backstock. And what about the things that become staples later? I don't know about you, but sometimes we go through phases, like bananas. We didn't have any bananas on hand when I originally organized the pantry. Now there's no bin for them. They ended up in the homeless bin 3 times. Okay, suddenly we're a banana household and they need their own home. This has worked so well now that every single closet has a homeless bin. Game changer. If you get one thing from this, have a homeless bin. Okay, here's another big one. Organize by sizes and not by types. When you mix small and large items in the same bin, the small stuff always ends up at the bottom. The Brazil nut effect. The big stuff rises to the top. The small stuff sinks. Every time you shift the bin or reach into it, it gets even worse. This used to happen in my bathroom backstock bins. I used to organize by types, like face creams in one bin, hair products in another, travel bottles in a different bin, and so on. The problem here is that I have big face cream bottles and tiny face cream bottles. And same with hair products. I have big shampoos and little shampoos. Now I organize by size, not by type. So my tiny bin might have things like lip gloss, cuticle oil, little travel face creams, things like that. And then like my large bottles are like my bulk, like huge body creams or huge shampoos. Everything's visible, everything's reachable, no more digging. Labels, be specific or be sorry. Here's a mistake we made early on, broad labels. Our professional organizers had cute little basket clips that said stuff like grains or bread, just one word, one category name. Sounds fine, right? Well, what's a grain to you and what's grain to me? Oats go in the grains. To my husband, oats go in the cereal. So guess what happened? Stuff kept ending up in the wrong places, or we both couldn't find things based on what category we thought something should go in. My rule is labels should list every single item in the bin, not the category. Sure, it can have the category, but under the category, it needs to have the contents, every single item. And here's the best part. You can keep adding labels as you go. I didn't want to make a whole new basket for bananas, so I just added bananas label onto an existing bin right underneath. Done. It took 39 seconds. And if you have kids who never know where things go, this helps prevent them from totally destroying your system. My label maker, I'm obsessed. I print, slap, done. It allows me to use big and small labels so I can put a little list and change the font, the size. So cute. I think this is like 30 bucks on Amazon, but I'll link mine below. Okay, so bins. This is gonna be 2 parts because bins are really important. Part 1, stop going shallow. I don't know why this one took me so long to figure out, but everyone says to get shallow bins so you can see everything. Our professional organizers even insisted on using shallow bins. Sounds good in theory and looks cute, but we don't have a giant walk-in pantry. Our shelves are pretty small. Our pantry is actually so small, we had to take the door off to create a little extra space. These low profile bins made everything worse. Everything overflowed. We weren't utilizing any of the vertical space. Things just kept getting piled on top. When something got buried at the bottom, it stayed there. I'd find duplicate items all the time. Oh, hey, this is the 3rd box of pasta and we never even eat pasta. So I stopped following that advice and started designing around my actual space and going vertical. Clear, narrow bins are the best because you want to be able to see everything inside without digging. If you have wide bins, you can't see what's in the middle. Also, I wanted my bins to be tall, but not so tall that I can't reach my hand in and just grab something without pulling the bin out. Otherwise, I would end up with a bunch of bins out on the countertops. Bins part 2. Choose bins based on your space, not your stuff. I used to pick a bin based on what I wanted it to hold. Oh, this would make a great chip basket. Now I do the opposite. I measure the entire shelf first, then I fill the space with the empty bins that fit perfectly. Hardly any gaps. After I do that, I decide, okay, this is where the chips are gonna go. This bin's for pasta, and so on. Bins should fit your space. Your stuff should fit into that, not the other way around. But this is easy if you're getting bins that take up the entire space, plenty of room. Stop trying to change habits. Organizing isn't about how you think it should be organized. It's about how everyone in the house actually uses it. The real life, unchangeable habits. I don't know about you, but every time my husband and I try to change certain habits, we adopt the new behavior for a while, then things get chaotic, we're back to our normal life, and then boom, we're back to those old habits. And if you have kids, this is probably even worse. So I thought, it's probably more realistic to design systems around our habits than it is to actually change our habits. I made the mistake of building everything around my own habits. I thought, I'll label it, and if I label it, it will be obvious for everyone where to find it and where to put it away. Yeah, no, not at all. Here's how it actually goes in our house. I can't stand visual clutter. If there's stuff sitting out, I shove it away. I put it out of sight into a drawer, into a basket, literally anywhere but out. Out of sight, out of mind. My husband, he's the opposite. If he can't find something immediately or quickly, he pulls everything out and then suddenly there's clutter everywhere. So then I go shove it back in, he pulls it out again. You get the picture. This is really just a vicious cycle. And it all stems from not having a system that is built for both of us. And this is not me speaking poorly, but these are just our habits. And that's something you need to evaluate how you're actually living your life, how you both actually utilize the house. And because we can never find anything, We overbuy things we don't need. I found 4 different bags of bulk popcorn kernels. 4 bags of bulk popcorn. Okay, when you make bulk popcorn, you need like a half a cup. So this is gonna last for like 20 years. So I started designing around the worst habits in the house. Not the best intentions, not the good habits we think we have, the real life bad habits, the purge. Let's talk about the decision-making process. Everyone says start by categorizing and deciding what to keep, but that's a trap. Your brain gets overwhelmed and suddenly you're overthinking every single little item. Here's what I do. When I pull everything out, I make only 4 piles. Keep, donate, trash, or sell. That's it. Forget categories for now. Forget labeling. Just decide, does this stay in our lives or not? Does it spark joy method? I tried it, but joy is kind of emotional. It gets confusing. I'd keep things that I haven't used in 5 years just because they reminded me of something and I thought it sparked joy. Once I sort that first round, I go back through my keep pile, and every time I find more to cut. Like, why did I have 4 identical bottles of lotion? Then, and only then, do I bring in bins, empty bins, no labels. I fit them in the space first, then organize. I don't try to force my stuff in whatever containers I bought because they looked cute. Labels come last, always. I split this in 2 different days. Day 1 is purge, then you sort into rough categories, fill the space with empty bins. And by rough categories, I mean you can still put everything back in the closet so it's not sitting out overnight, but don't really stress too hard about what goes where yet. Day 2, I categorize, finalize, and then label. If I try to do it all at once, I burn out. I get sloppy. I avoid organizing for the next 3 months. For some reason, if I step away and then come back the next day, it's so much quicker. I make better category decisions, and it really seems pretty effortless. When you take those bad habits into consideration, shared spaces need shared logic. My husband does most of the cooking, and I do most of the cleaning. So the pantry should actually make more sense to him than it does to me. I might think the flour should go on the top shelf because I never use it. I mean, duh, right? So logical, flour on the top shelf. Well, my husband makes me gluten-free tortillas and bread all the time, which, by the way, are incredible, and I have no idea what the ingredients even are. I'm assuming one of them is flour. The flour needs to be more accessible to him. I'm thinking it goes on the top shelf. He thinks it needs to be quicker and easier to access without a step stool. So you can see where I'm going with this. If I organize the house the way I think it should be organized, the flour would be on the top shelf and my husband would be constantly putting it back in the wrong spot or just leaving it out. Here's another game changer. Staging zones, or I like to call them transition zones. Organizing 101 says that everything needs a home or a dedicated spot. But let's be real, not everything gets put away immediately. Life just doesn't work like that for us. So I created these temporary transition homes. So some things, yes, some things have 2 homes. I started taking note of the things that were frequently contributing to all the clutter in the house, even though they already have a dedicated spot, right? A labeled spot where they should live. What things were frequently not in their dedicated home and contributing to the clutter. For example, when I'm getting dressed and I'm running late, I try on 4 different outfits. I don't have time to hang everything back up. So then boom, there's a little pile of clothes in my closet that I'm not ready to hang, and they're not ready to go in the dirty clothes. So for this very reason, I created a dedicated bin called Hang Me. Another example is our front room would always have a little pile of stuff waiting to be returned. I wouldn't want to go immediately drop it off to be returned. I usually wait until I have a few things to return to Amazon or wherever. Stuff would sit in that front room on our little ledge for weeks waiting to be returned. So now I have a bin right there, things to return. Game changer. Okay, junk drawer, go vertical. You know those 1-inch tall little drawer organizers that everyone buys? The ones that look good in photos, but instantly turn into little like plops, chaos in real life. Yes, we had those. Within days, junk drawer was back to a disaster again. One item didn't fit and suddenly everything's stacked. It's like playing Tetris with rubber bands and screwdrivers and batteries. Now I use these stackable containers that are tall and narrow instead of wide. I went vertical. I measured this drawer perfectly so that I was using the entire height of the drawer instead of just the entire width. Now it's organized, it's calm, and it's actually stayed that way. Speaking of junk, let's talk about catch-alls or drop zones. Don't force where people should drop things. Put the catch zones where people naturally plop things down. And don't be afraid to have 2 drop zones of the exact same type. For example, like those little bowls for your keys and wallets. Most people want these to look nice and put them in a logical spot. However, in our case, my husband comes through the front door and I come through the garage door. So now we each have our own drop zone of the same type, right? We both have like a key and wallet bowl. Mine's by the back door where I naturally put things down, and his is by the front door where he naturally sets things down. Now things finally stay where they should. Vacuum bags. It's so simple. I can't believe I've never had a vacuum bag until recently. I should have been using these my whole life. Duh. It saves so much space and they're not that expensive. So we had comforters, seasonal bedding, extra decor pillows, and no space for them. So I bought those vacuum seal bags and it freed up 2 whole shelves across 4 different closets. That's 8 extra shelves. It's so satisfying to watch them just like shrivel up. They just like disappear before your eyes. By the way, I'll link all the products I mentioned in this whole video down below so you don't have to search for them. Kitchen cabinets, like the underneath the counter ones that are really deep, label everything. I didn't want to spend money on those fancy, pull-out drawers, and I didn't want to install them. So I went really simple. I just used clear bins for all the small stuff like cheese graters, veggie chopper thingies, whatever they're called. And then for the big stuff like a Vitamix or the NutriBullet, I just labeled the actual shelf itself. Now we're not on our hands and knees, crawling down on the floor, wondering where the last person shoved the Instapot in this deep cabinet in the back behind all the cheese graters. This is where the Instapot goes. Create dedicated spaces for all your scattered items. I took inventory of similar items that I had in multiple locations. For me, the big one is tape. We used to have tape in 5 different places. Packing tape in the laundry room, scotch tape in the junk drawer, masking tape, who knows? No clue. Now we have a tape drawer. Every kind of tape all goes in this tape drawer and nothing else goes in this tape drawer. No more hunting, no more duplicates. Well, sure, we have some backstock. Hand towels go in a bin. I used to fold them neatly, stack them perfectly. The second someone grabs one, they're no longer stacked and we're starting all over. So I just gave up. Like, why am I trying to stack hand towels? It's not gonna stay that way. So now they just go in a bin. I still fold them, but if they can just fall over, it's fine. I'll live if my hand towels fall over. At least it's organized chaos in that bin. I just gave up on folding sheets, especially the fitted sheets. I just put them in one of those linen things. I think these fitted sheets are evil. I used to feel like I hadn't graduated into full womanhood yet because I couldn't fold them properly. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've watched countless YouTube videos, so I finally just said, you know what? I'm not gonna fold fitted sheets. I got linen bins for the sheet sets and just take them up to the laundry room. So I just pull them out of the dryer and throw them in the bin. And if you have a ton of different sized beds, you can even label each box. This is a king set of sheets. This is a queen set of sheets. Now they look so neat and clean in the linen closet. I didn't have to watch a YouTube video on how to be a real woman and fold fitted sheets. Laundry, the ultimate Achilles heel. I used to dread it. Piles everywhere, always behind. Our laundry room, even though it's plenty large enough, it looks fantastic. It wasn't like a functional station to really actually fold, hang, process, and finish the laundry. Even when the house looked great, the laundry made it feel like it was never straightened. I changed a few simple things, under $100, and now I actually enjoy laundry, and it takes me only a few minutes. No more laundry mountain. No more panic at the closet, just a system that flows by how we live. If laundry is your pain point too, you're not alone. I'll break everything down I did in my new laundry routine in the next video. If you learned anything from this video or you want more tips like this, don't forget to subscribe and check out my next video on laundry routine. I'm getting old if that's what I'm excited about. Thanks.